So today, nothing too much out of the ordinary and nothing extremely exciting on the storm-wise. Looking at our categorical here, we are not seeing anything that is popping out as going to be super extreme as of this morning. Now, if one area would potentially get upgraded to a slight threat, that would be that area along Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, and Nebraska. Somewhere in there could be one spot that will upgrade, but it probably will not be an upper-ended upgrade. It'll probably just be a very low-end slight, if any. So looking across the rest of the country, though, we see that really we're isolated to two states. We see Wisconsin, and then we see South Carolina. And seeing those, that's going to show us that we're not expecting any of these big-time storms to develop and travel, but they're kind of dying off in the direction that they're going. They're not staying in our country for very long. So most of these storms are not going to have enough time to develop, as they will develop later on in the evening. So looking at the temperature for today, it is definitely going to be in most places a end of June type of day. We're going to see temperatures across most of the nation, at least the central and eastern part of the nation, be in the upper 70s, 80s, 90s, and even 100 in parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and definitely in the parts of Texas. But we do see one area that we could potentially see some record-breaking cold temperature highs is up in the Rockies. We do see that Idaho, Montana area potentially in the 30s, and so that's something that, of course, is going to be with elevation, so that might be why we're seeing those colder temperatures there. But it does seem to be on a very loose cold front that has formed up in Canada and is actually brought clear down into parts of Utah. So that could be a kind of a cold front that could be starting to work its way through, but it may not be. It might just be one area of pressure, but this is why it's kind of an uncertain thing, and we'll check that out next on the afternoon reflectivity. So as I said, it's kind of hard to tell, because when you look at what's going on there, it's a big swooping system, and it's going to be raining. So this could be one of three things. One, it could just be a low pressure system with a lot of rain, allowing for rain-cooled temperatures to come into the environment. The second one could be this low pressure system that is kind of starting to form out over this area, is bringing colder temperatures from Canada down. Or the third option could be that it's just an elevation thing. Maybe since it has been raining and it is raining, that we're seeing a combination of the two, and we're actually seeing just kind of a drawdown, and we could just see some random cold temperatures with some altitude. But it looks like overall the reason for colder temperatures is probably going to be because of this rain. So we'll be tracking this as it kind of swoops around. You can kind of see how it has that already swooping motion, kind of like a cinnamon roll around parts from all the way down Utah, clear up into parts of Montana. But in the afternoon, looking back towards the Midwest in Ohio valleys, this is where we see some of our bigger cell thunderstorms start to form. Now, not expecting these to go severe, but isolated cells, especially in the Midwest, do build during the day, so potential for some hail is possible. But they're just the summertime thunderstorms that, when you think about summertime storms, these are kind of the basic stereotype type of storms. So then we get to the nighttime, and we do see the kind of sparsement of this system, that kind of loose low pressure out over parts of the Rockies, and so there is kind of some weak spin going on there, so we'll check that out over time. But we do see the die-off of a lot of those daytime cells, but then the kind of end-of-day storms start to fire back up in Texas. So we're seeing very summer-like weather, because when you look at it, we see a lot of stuff that forms in the late evening hours, and then just before sunset across Texas. But then we see those daytime storms that fire off, that form during the day, die off at that same time across parts of the Ohio Valley and Midwest. But we do see back up there some of those bigger cells that kind of clump together and create potentially a little bow echo, even up in the North Dakota up there. But some of these storms could be fueled by daytime convection, but most likely we're just seeing those summertime environment storms. But we will keep an eye on that loose rotation, that loose low pressure over parts of Idaho, and we'll keep checking those out as we go through the week, because we could end up with just some basic types of that summertime kind of look at what could be going on. And so we do see that low pressure could be traveling towards the east to southeast, and it's actually influenced by a low pressure out in front, because technically this low pressure in the back has not formed yet, even though it is showing a very broad rotation that is about the size of a whole state. So we do see that low pressure out over Colorado today, but would not be surprised if we see a formation of another low pressure. It looks like it would be starting out in parts of Idaho. So keep in mind all of that going in. Could be a real rainmaker for portions of the Midwest and then up in the Northeast sometime in the next week or two. And we hope to see you in tomorrow's forecast. We always remind you to be weather ready.